Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Glow 3 podcast. I'm your host, Jay Marie, and in today's episode, we are going to be talking about when love wasn't mutual, the pain of being used. And so, this episode explores what it feels like to love someone who never truly loved you back. And, someone said all the right things to keep you hooked, even when their intentions were never genuine. And we'll further talk about why this kind of relationship can truly be deeply traumatic and how it affects your ability to trust love and to love again in general. We'll also talk about how to heal and how to heal your heart and your nervous system after that said connection. So let's get into it. So I just want to start by saying, there's a special kind of heartbreak that comes from realizing someone didn't love you the way that you love them. They said all the right things, they played the parts, they made you believe that you mattered, when in reality they were only using you, maybe for attention, maybe for validation, for sex, for comfort, or just to fill in their own emptiness. And what hurts the most is that you truly loved them for who they were. You saw their soul. You wanted them to grow and you wanted to grow with them. You wanted to heal with them and, build on something that was real, but they didn't see that within you. They only saw what they could take from you. And whole time you thought it was love, but outside of the connection and realizing that it was manipulation disguised as affection. And that kind of realization, it doesn't just break your heart, it breaks your sense of safety. So, we're going to talk about the hidden trauma behind why we stayed. Sometimes we don't see manipulation right away because of our own hidden wounds. So, if you grew up having to earn your love, if love was something that came in conditions, you were taught to be a fixer. You confused chaos for connection. So you might have told yourself, no, they just need to grow when they were giving you this bad behavior or doing these terrible things to you behind your back or saying all these crazy things. You would excuse that behavior with they just need to grow. Or you believe that if you love them harder, if you were more patient, if you did this, X, Y, and Z, buy them more things, change all these things about you, they would change too. But they didn't want to change. They wanted to control. They wanted to control you and the situation because they wanted to get what they can get from you. While you kept excusing their behavior, thinking it was compassion, when in truth it was self abandonment. Another example is that when your love was conditioned as a child, where you do end up trying to do the most, being the fixer, and doing X, Y, and Z in order to receive love. And then you grow up into an adult and get into these connections with these narcissists who breadcrumb you. And that breadcrumbing feels like the world. It feels amazing because you've never truly experienced genuine love. Love that has no bounds, love that is not conditioned, and love where you don't have to do anything but just exist. So that breadcrumbing, it feels like they are actually giving you attention and they're infatuated with you when really it's bare minimum and they don't fucking like you at all. You just don't know the difference and you keep accepting this breadcrumbing behavior, so they will continue to do so because you are allowing it, but you don't know any better. We're going to move on to why being used is deeply traumatic. So, this kind of relationship can leave you with a deep emotional trauma, even if there's no physical abuse, because your body and your mind bonded to someone who wasn't emotionally safe. And that creates what's known as betrayal trauma. And betrayal trauma happens when someone you trusted, someone you emotionally attached to, completely violates the trust while pretending to love or care for you. And it confuses your entire nervous system. And it's not just a sadness, it's like a soul shock. Especially when you step out of the relationship and you're working on your healing and looking back at just how fucked and used you were in that connection, it will literally have your body and soul in shock and your heart just confused and your mind looping and trying to understand, because this is something that's not really fully comprehensible. And it's not fully comprehensible because this attacks a different part of your psyche, part that believes that love should be safe and sacred and mutual. And so, with the love of that narcissistic individual who was not genuine about their intentions, that manipulation confuses your brain because it completely violates your emotional reality. Because you experience real love, real vulnerability, and real care. So when that person turns out to be manipulating you on the other side, or just it's a one sided connection, it doesn't just hurt your heart, it completely destroys your sense of what's real. Your brain just cannot easily file that experience because it doesn't fit into your understanding of love. Hence, why it's hard to comprehend and why your soul, your body, your nervous system goes into shock. Emotional manipulation literally hurts the core of your trust system. It makes your brain question its own judgment. Like, how did I not see this? Was this connection even real? It just creates this loop in your mind that you keep revisiting because it wants closure that does not exist. And your brain just cannot fully process something that it cannot physically see, that's not tangible to see. Emotional manipulation is also a form of relational trauma, which hits your attachment system and your nervous system. And your nervous system gets confused by this emotional manipulation. Your body just experienced both safety and danger from the same person, the very person that you loved deeply. They made you feel seen in some parts, they made you feel desired or comforted, but they also hurt you deeply. And that right there sends mixed signals through your body, confusing love as warmth, but also betrayal as connection, but also confusion as safety, but also pain. So your nervous system will then associate intimacy with danger. So even when you meet someone kind, your body might tense up or overthink or pull away because it remembers the last time of that nasty love meant being blindsided or bullied. I'll explain some of, the traits of emotional manipulation. It involves gaslighting, it involves breadcrumbing, it involves future faking as well. So they'll do something fucked up, but then try and turn it around on you somehow and gaslight you. They'll breadcrumb you with a little bit of love and a little bit of attention, but go cold, and then come back to giving you love and attention, and then go cold and do something fucked up and do something mean, but then they'll turn around. That's the breadcrumbing. And the future faking, creating these fake scenarios with you, saying that they want you in their life, that they want to eventually get married and have kids and have this and X, Y, and Z, and building your hopes up of something that is not fully true to them. And as they're doing all this crazy shit to you and your brain and your nervous system, you begin to doubt yourself. You begin to doubt your own perceptions. And that distortion truly lingers long after the relationship, unfortunately, in the sense that you start second guessing your own instincts and your own emotions, which makes trusting new people and even yourself feel unsafe. And with that broken and unsafe feeling that you have in those instincts, it creates broken trust template, right? And every relationship teaches your brain a template for the connection, the new connection that you will eventually be in. But when love and harm come from the same person, your trust template becomes scrambled. Your brain learns that people who say they love you might secretly have hidden motives. And that belief, it comes from your subconscious trying to defend you. It's a defense mechanism meant to protect you, but it also keeps you isolated or detached from future relationships, unfortunately. And from that will also create emotional withdrawal as self protection. So, after that kind of betrayal, your system often shuts down emotionally just to survive. So, you may still want love, but subconsciously you hold back because part of you says, if I get too close, they can hurt me again. So I gotta stay away. And that's not a weakness, it's just a trauma response called protective avoidance. And then from that, it just keeps going on and on. But from that protective avoidance, you might develop a fear of intimacy. And let me be clear, fear of intimacy isn't really fear of love, it's fear of the pain that once came from disguised as love. And that fear begins to form itself when your vulnerability was punished instead of protected. You opened your heart, and that openness was not, that was used against you. So your brain now associates vulnerability with danger and not safety. It also forms when you have just lost a sense of emotional control. So being manipulated makes you feel powerless, you know? And to avoid that helplessness ever again, you might subconsciously stay guarded, controlling your emotions, or keeping others at arm's length. Another form is that you still haven't received your emotional closure. So when love trauma doesn't get validated, you know, when no one says, yes, that is what I did wrong to you, your mind will keep cycling through the why until you finally process the betrayal your system keeps. And it will keep that love file under unresolved danger. Another form is that you've internalized mistrust as intuition. That's that one is a little subtle. You start mistaking your trauma's fear for your intuition. So even genuine love may feel suspicious or too good to be true. So emotional manipulation truly causes damage to people. People who were just trying to love that person, who were genuine, who had a open heart. And the worst part of it is that your mind tries to find logic in something that never made sense because someone pretending to love you isn't a normal heartbreak, it's actually psychological harm. And that's why for some it might be hard to move on or hard to even develop new connections later on because it's not just you weren't just losing the person, but you were losing your belief in love, your sense of safety and your trust in yourself. And that was all taken by this one person who just completely whiplashed you and forever changes your view on intimacy. And I just want to say that you were never naive. You just had a big heart. You were hopeful. You were too pure in this world that truly preys on people's kindness. You were too genuine for a connection that was just built on lies. And having a big heart and being hopeful and genuine and excited and trying to see the best in people, it's not a weakness, though it can lead to some downfalls if you're placing your trust in the wrong people. But it also is a superpower because to have that hope and that spark and that genuine love within inside of you, you know, in this world that is just so unkind and just so mean, that truly is a superpower. It's just learning about where to give that love and that genuine kindness, who to give it to. It's like now that you've learned, you want to make sure that you have better discernment about where you are placing that love and that hope and that genuine energy. All right, let's talk about the healing and reclaiming your power. Okay, so healing from being used and emotionally manipulated isn't about becoming cold. It's about becoming more aware. It's learning to truly trust your intuition again and trust your body. It's about forgiving yourself for not knowing better at the time when all you wanted to do was love and realizing your love, it wasn't wasted necessarily, even though you may feel like it was, but it was just misplaced. But know that you can love again. But next time, it'll be with wisdom, it'll be with discernment and boundaries. You will know what real reciprocating energy feels like. You will never let someone mistake your softness for stupidity ever again, because you didn't lose your value when they failed to see it. They did. This healing process, it truly is a deep nervous system, heart, and self trust recalibration, unfortunately. You know, you're reteaching your mind and your body and nervous system that love can feel safe again. So I'll explain the process and the layers of healing. So, number one, validate what happened. The first step is acknowledgement without self blame. Yes, you were used, you were lied to, and you were manipulated. And that's not because you were naive or weak, it's because you were open hearted and someone nasty took advantage of that openness. Validation rewires the part of your brain that still confuses the why factor and the why it happened. It stops you from internalizing that behavior as your fault. So do this affirmation. Say, I didn't deserve what happened. My love was real. Their intentions weren't. That doesn't make my love foolish. It makes me pure. It makes it pure. Number two, regulate your nervous system. So your body remembers the betrayal. So every time someone gets close, your system might tense up, panic, or emotionally freeze. So you heal by creating new body memories of safety. So try grounding rituals, which is deep breathing, warm baths, stretching, or placing your hand on your chest and saying, I'm safe right now. Or you can try somatic releases, which is dancing or shaking, crying. Let the body move the pain out. Emotional pain, it gets stored in the body physically. You can also try sensory care, which is soft music, candles, gentle touch, anything that reteaches your body what peace feels like. When your body learns safety, your heart can open again without fear. Number three, rebuild self trust. So, emotional manipulation truly damages your relationships with your own perception. So, to heal, you must become your own safest person again. And you do this by listening to your intuition even when it whispers, keeping small promises to yourself, showing your brain that you are dependable, writing down your emotions instead of dismissing them. Each time you trust yourself, you're reprogramming your mind to know my feelings are valid, my instincts are accurate, and I can rely on me. Number four, reframe what love means. When love has been distorted by manipulation, your subconscious can link love to pain. Healing means rewriting that association. Start by redefining love as calm, not chaotic, as consistent, not confusing, as safe, not controlling, and as freedom, not fear. You can begin by showing yourself that kind of love first through gentle routines, through compassion, and even when you do make mistakes, that's okay. Give yourself compassion and rest when you need it. Number five, grieve fully. Okay, you're not just grieving the person, you are grieving the illusion and the potential and the safety you thought you had. So let yourself cry, let yourself rage, or write letters you will never send. Grief is how your soul makes room for new love to grow. Regardless of how long it takes, let the process take as long as it needs, because this is a literal trauma that affected your whole entire nervous system, your brain, and your body. It literally rewired your brain. So you need to take as much time as you need to grieve fully. Number six, relearn intimacy gradually. So don't rush, okay? Emotional closeness after betrayal needs to be rebuilt in tiny and safe steps. And that can look like, letting friends or family in again, practicing open communication, sharing small truths, and watching who honors them. Each connection teaches your nervous system that love doesn't always mean danger. Number seven, forgive yourself, not them. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing what the hell happened. It means releasing yourself from the emotional contract of pain. And you can say this to yourself: I forgive myself for not knowing better at the time. I release their power over my heart. Okay, forgiveness is for your peace, not for their damn redemption. They don't deserve any type of redemption from you whatsoever. And lastly, number eight, reconnect to your divine self. So, when your heart was deeply manipulated, part of your soul may have felt disconnected, like you lost your spark or your purity of love. And with this healing means returning home to that divine self again, to that love that you once had, to that spark and that purity of love that you once had, the one who still believes, but now it's from a place of discernment. So you can do that by meditation, by journaling, by prayer, or mirror work that can help you realign with that deeper part of you that never stopped being whole. Because you didn't lose your value when they miserably failed to see it, they did. And that brings me to the end of this podcast episode. I just want to say thank you so much for listening. I hope this reached the peoples that it needed to reach and it resonates with any soul that needed to hear this. Always honor and protect your heart, and it is extremely sacred. And maybe next time, if you do end up in a connection, because you have boundaries, because you know better, because you have discernment, you will never be manipulated ever again. And hopefully, you'll meet that person who truly loves you genuinely. So thank you so much for listening. I will chat with y'all in the next episodes. Bye.